Okay, good to go.
All right, can you hear me? Because I feel like it's on, but it's not. That's okay.
We need it louder. We need you to speak louder.
Hello. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Committee for Persons with Disabilities regular meeting for February 19th, 2025. I'm happy to see everyone here. We are going to start with a call to order, and I believe we start recording as well. We do have two newer committee members, so real quickly, if we can go down the line and introduce yourself and what district you cover and anything super cool about you.
I don't know about super cool. This is Humberto Milan, also known as Beto, District 1, representing District 1. And I don't know. Probably really cool to talk about.
You do. You're on the EOC.
Oh yeah, I'm emergency operations responder for San Diego.
Laura Ginsel here. I am in seat 5, just recently appointed by Chair Tara Lawson-Runner. And I live in University Heights area. And an interesting fact about me is I've done over 200 skydives.
Oh,
I'm pretty proud of that. It's been a minute before I've done over 200 skydives. Yeah. One attached to somebody and 205 on my own. I'm happy to talk about it at length anytime.
Wow. Standing, I've got 12. So, no, you got me be fine.
Laura, did you say it's 5?
Seat 5, yeah.
Seat 5. Seat. Yeah, seat 5.
So, hi, Susan Madison, I am Joel Anderson district. I got transferred, so I'm still a little confused. You can tell I don't catch up quickly.
Yeah.
But I'm here, yay. One of my cool things in a former life was in the 90s, I went river rafting down the Colorado River for 16 friggin' days on the water. It was a trip for people with disabilities. It was awesome. And I'm glad I survived. I describe it as my soul was really willing and my body was like freaking out.
My name is Dr. Carolyn Smith. I am also Joel Anderson. One cool thing, I'll split it, is I was deported and exiled from a country. I've been back 5 times, so it's okay. And it was Australia, because I used to live in Australia. And I did the world's tallest bungee jump in northern Germany. And I did that because I was about to deploy to Iraq, and I thought, you know, if I don't make it, that's okay. Don't go to war.
Yay.
I'm sorry to have to follow that.
I mean, this is tough.
I'm Jeanette White Shelton, representing Tara in District 3. Something interesting, cool. I've been on 3 safaris, and I would go back tomorrow if I could possibly do it.
Whoa.
That's right.
You were 3 what?
Safaris.
Right?
I am doing nothing.
And we had lions rubbing up against our truck and leopards rubbing against our truck, and an elephant came to our door in the middle of the night and was eating a tree.
Oh,
Dude, I'd never come back from there.
Yeah, almost didn't.
Michelle Krug representing, sorry, thank you. Michelle Krug representing Supervisor Monica Montgomery Step, District 4. I've been out on the Kaiser National Union of Healthcare Workers strike. Today is day 128. So it's been 18 weeks for the mental health professionals.
All right, so we are going to agenda item number 2, a statement of just cause and or consideration of a request to participate remotely, emergency circumstances, if applicable. Do we have just cause or emergency?
We do have a member. She's not dialed in yet. and she did request to participate via teleconference, but she may be ill, so.
Is it
Uh,
Jessica?
Yes. Sorry,
Well,
you guys know I'm on espresso before I get here, right? Okay, good.
Go ahead. All right,
I sent her a text.
so, but, other than that, there are no other just cause or emergency circumstances.
You know what, we have Phyllis on.
Phyllis, would you like to unmute and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Phyllis. I work with Jessica and Lived Experience Advisors, and I'm very interested in the committee, and was hoping to maybe join the committee at some point. I think I'm in District 1, and with I think there was some, I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to talk to somebody about possibly being part of the committee.
Hey, well, you're in the right place. So sorry I didn't see you sooner, but, we caught you nonetheless. I will have, Todd and Jaime reach out to you, if they have your email address. If not, we will, when we're done, we will find a way to contact you, or you can contact us. You actually, contact, or, just go online and submit your request to be on the board.
I will do that. Thank you.
Outstanding.
Phyllis, if you need to contact me, you can do so. I'm Todd Hood. And if you'll go to the CPD website, you'll see contact information there. I could be
Okay, cool.
reached at 619-531-4908.
531-4908, and it's Todd, right?
Yes, ma'am. Wonderful. Look forward to having you.
Yeah, too.
Thanks for being here. Agenda item number 3, we need to vote on January meeting minutes. Does everybody have an opportunity to check the meeting minutes? And anybody have questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a small typo under presentation of updated ADA policy, the second bullet on the second line says confirmed Todd is the, or is just want to correct one of those. Yeah. Very small.
Presentation of updated policy.
yeah, I saw it. Under, right up here,
Oh, yeah.
is the.
Got it. Pick one.
Yeah, whichever you like.
Yeah.
I like the.
Is a resource.
We will be.
You're the resource.
Is the resource.
All right, thank you for catching that. Anything else? Anyone? If I can get a motion?
I move to approve the January minutes as amended.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Hi,
I,
Michelle?
I'm abstaining because I wasn't.
Oh, got it. Oh, sorry, my bad. All those against? Any abstains? Got it. Michelle. Okay, great. Those are passed. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, agenda item number 4. This is our non-agenda comment section where members of the public may address a county issue not elsewhere on this agenda. Each speaker may take up to 2 minutes. Speakers may be limited to less time if several speakers have requested to speak on the same issue. The Committee for Persons with Disabilities is prohibited by the Brown Act from acting on or voting on any issue that is not already on the public agenda unless deemed to be urgent. Do we have any non-agenda comments? I will say one. I did attend the board supervisor meeting. I was there. I did introduce myself and attempted to introduce the committee. I was not aware, it didn't dawn on me, that they probably shut off radio signals at the dais. And so my tablet, which had my little blurb, completely went blank. I typically have a printout. as my backup. I didn't. And so I ad-libbed, not so great. I had a blood draw that morning and I had to do what do you call it, a fasting blood work. So the medication that I take for my TBI, I wasn't able to take it. And so when you see the video, you get what you get.
I'm
Just
sure
know,
you did fine.
just know the last paragraph was all about you guys and how awesome you are. So, but I was there. So,
And I do have an update. I did speak to facilities about the evacuation
Thank you.
plan. And they're for people that that use wheelchairs because the fire or in the event of an emergency, the elevators will be disabled. We do have slides on each floor such that you'd be able to be evacuated through the slide. Now, how that works with once you get down there, because your
Wheelchairs up
mobile
here.
device is up here. So, I was talking with him, and so we're working through what the plan would be to get your device down as well.
that seems like a really significant piece to not have in the four corners of protocol.
Well, we had the same issue at the city. And what we invested in at my strong urge, and I think it worked because I ended up using one, unfortunately, during a blackout, are sliding chairs. They're like a small wheelchair. And they're striker chairs. And they were created after 9/11. And they literally, you have to be trained to use them. But you slide down over the stairs. They're round tracker things that go right down. You know, I'm leaning back, I'm strapped in a chair, and somebody then is guiding me down. I went down from the 9th floor one time and then I'm in a chair, a really tiny, crappy one, but I'm in a chair and somebody can push me.
But then now that slide is down, so the next person needs to use it.
I
So
know.
yeah, so that's where I was going. That's what we have, but how to
Yeah.
get once you are down and where you. So we're going to work with that. But I wanted to give you an update.
And thank you for
Sure.
that.
No, thank you for pointing it out.
Because I was instructed to wait in the stairwell, which is sometimes a safer place if there's a fire. Is that the rules here? Or do I just wait right here in this room for somebody to come and get me?
No. The slide is here by the stairwell, but this isn't the same type of stairwell you're talking about, because I think you're talking about an enclosed stairwell
Go
that
on.
is away from the
Yeah.
building. This is an open stairwell, and this is where the evacuation
Okay,
procedure is.
that's fine.
So it's different than what I think you're
Yeah.
talking about. But the slide, yes, you'd be able to go down. The problem is, well, I guess it would
Doesn't
be,
somebody carry me down?
yes,
Am I laying
it's
on?
it's on the same type
Yeah.
of thing. It's right out here. So, but my point is that we're going to get more detail on that, but I wanted to at least give you that we do have.
No,
Say what you said?
It's slide, single wheelchair. Good.
A wheelchair might, but it sounds like these may have, well, yours is lighter, but I think it may have some weight restriction.
Well,
How about you all let me give you
Yeah,
a little more detail, but I wanted to just give you an update that we're checking on.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
my
we-
wheelchair weighs 250, so.
If we ask you the questions, then it might help you find out what whatever you want to know.
Well, I understand, this is not agenda comment.
All right,
Thank you, Tom.
yeah, so, and I would bring that up on new business. Yeah. All right, we are going to move, we're actually going to tether that down, further in the agenda so that,
The strategic plan.
no, the new business. So that we can have protocols on that everybody knows about. We'll get to that, don't worry about it. Agenda item number 5 is our 2025 strategic plan. I'm not sure, hopefully everybody has had an opportunity to look at this. This document I crafted, based, not solely based off the Board of Supervisors 2025 strategic agenda, but, with some,
The document that starts off with purpose. Okay.
Yeah,
but with some causal alignments, in the sense that, what I don't want to do is I don't want anybody on the board to, spin their wheels if the Board of Supervisors is already looking into something. Our whole goal is the gap. So as you can see, so the purpose of the board, the Committee for Persons with Disabilities, strategic agenda, the following focus or proposed, and keep that in mind, for the Committee of Persons with Disabilities for 2025. The goal is to identify opportunities to improve accessibility and provide recommendations to the Board of Supervisors for individuals with disabilities. Please review the areas below and indicate on which of these you're interested in focusing for 2025. And I want to reemphasize, proposed, right? So if the majority, my concept is that, and for the last couple of years, this body was, communally, working on tasks. But it didn't seem to me, could be wrong, doesn't, could be whatever. But it didn't seem to me that in that entire time, not one recommendation was sent to the Board of Supervisors. So a communal task, doesn't seem, if your passion is A and the task, is not really in your passion wheel, then the chances of you really working on it are slim to none. So what my thought is that as you all look through this document, what is your passion? And if the passion isn't in the document, then bring it to the board so that we can add that strategic, alignment that still aligns somewhat with the Board of Supervisors, but is also what the passion is for each of you. Conversely, if you want to work in teams, I recommend that. But I'm not going to tell you to do that because again, if your passion isn't the next person's passion, we're all volunteers, right? So, obviously, emergency preparedness and safety accessibility, to advocate for inclusive emergency preparedness and safety measures, ensuring that people with disabilities are fully considered in emergency response plans, especially in the event of environmental crises such as pollution and natural disasters. Examine current emergency preparedness plans, identify improvements in accessibility for people with disabilities. The committee can recommend modifications to ensure that people with disabilities are included in evacuations, sheltering, and emergency response efforts. This includes accessible routes, accommodations, and support during emergencies. And this is timely, the conversation we just had about how we get our own folks down out of this building in the event of. So the strategic focus for 2025 would be to work to ensure that emergency plans, including public safety initiatives such as fire safety, brush management efforts, specifically incorporate disability access and support. This includes ensuring evacuation routes, emergency services, and shelters are accessible to individuals with mobility, sensory, or cognitive disabilities. And I put the interest, yes or no. And that way you all can return, you can either return this document to me or Todd or Jaime, or you can simply send an email out saying yes or no. So it's sort of whatever accessibility you have. I know that some may not have a laptop or computer or internet, so you can either just turn this document in at the end of the day, or you can email us which you do or don't have an interest in. Number two,
Carolyn, I thought we were going to have time for discussion and vote today about our priorities.
right, so I'm just gonna go through this real quick, so that people who
And I'm glad, I'm just wondering about why would I check it off an email to somebody if we're gonna make a decision today?
well, because if the comments go past, like something
Okay,
that's,
fine.
right,
That's
okay.
fine.
Okay, thanks for asking. Number two, housing and transportation activity, ensure that housing and transportation programs are accessible and inclusive for individuals with disabilities, enabling them to fully participate in society and live independently. Methodology is review transitional housing programs and transportation systems to ensure they accommodate a wide range of disabilities, including physical, cognitive, and sensory disabilities. Focusing on assessing new housing projects and transportation infrastructure, ensure they meet accessibility standards. The focus for this is to advocate for disability-friendly designs and housing programs such as accessible units, inappropriate accommodations, push for improvement in public transportation infrastructure, such as accessible bus stops, transit stations, and vehicles, ensuring ease of access for all individuals regardless of ability. Number three is behavioral health and crisis stabilization accessibility, which is next page. To improve access to behavioral health services for individuals with disabilities, including those with developmental, intellectual, and mental health disabilities, ensuring they can fully assess critical services during a crisis. Methodology is to work with the board to ensure that behavioral health programs and crisis stabilization services are fully accessible to individuals with disabilities. This includes ensuring modifications are made for communications, adaptive technologies, and trained staff capable of supporting individuals with various disabilities. The focus is to establish clear policies and programs that enhance accessibility to behavioral health services, ensuring that services, programs, and activities are accessible for individuals with intellectual, developmental, and mental health disabilities. This includes providing appropriate support and necessary resources during a crisis. Next step. So please review the focus areas and indicate your interest in any of the issues for 2025. At this point, I'll open it up. We have a conversation. If we get through this in the allotted time, outstanding. If we don't, that's where my previous statement of send an email, check your interest, or add interest. But what I really want to do. Anybody have? Okay, let's start at the end. Umberto. Based on any of these or any of these in a wheelhouse that you either want to participate by yourself or participate in a team, or is there something you want to add that isn't here?
First of all, thank you for putting this together. Pretty awesome. I think just because of timeliness, I'd be interested in number one. Obviously, the other two are also really, really important, but so I'd be willing to be a joker and just move around, but number one for now, for me, just because of the timeliness, the significance of, that type of work and the urgency that with what this might be needed, but yeah.
Outstanding. All right.
Can people not use numbers, but because I don't have it?
Sure. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. And
so-
I was gonna ask you to go through them one more time quickly, just
Sure, absolutely. So number one is the emergency preparedness and safety accessibility. Number two is housing and transportation accessibility. And three is behavioral health and crisis stabilization accessibility. So Roberto was saying he was interested in number one, which is the emergency preparedness and safety accessibility. All right, Laura.
These are all great topics. I appreciate having us to look at. I would be happy to work on any of these. I will say housing and mental health issues were definitely two when I came on the committee that I mentioned as having particular interest in, but I do think the emergency preparedness and safety accessibility seems more in some ways to wrap our arms around it, perhaps, to at least identify issues. It seems less overwhelming perhaps than housing and transportation.
Got it.
Behavioral health issues are ongoing discussion there.
And again, we could do this individually. You can team up, get battle buddy teams, and that could be the entire board. That can be 2 or 3 people or one person or whatnot. And you can work on obviously more than one. right? But again, I'm cognizant that we're all volunteers and we have lives outside of this, but you know, our core mission is to at least get some really big things done this year. So if you want to add something that, again, that you don't see on here, don't forget to add that, and then so that everybody has that opportunity. But with that being said, Susan.
Thank you, and this is an excellent, anchored approach, I like it. Well, I indicated some feedback before, I am passionate about emergency preparedness, but I already know a lot about it. So my vision for this, because we are a small committee, and because we have speakers come in that address issues for us that we're interested in. And we've had emergency preparedness people on the list for a time now. As new business coming up. So my vision for this would be, we focus on one or two for the year, really drill down, find out if there are needs and gaps, which we don't always know beforehand. But this has been studied a lot, and the other one that I'm very passionate about is housing. And I think we should divorce housing from transportation. I indicated it before, it's the both huge topics, huge. And I think we can have a fourth topic in transportation if that's what people want. But that's my two. And my 2 cents about the process.
So if you were to, so if housing and transportation was split and put transportation as a fourth item, which one would you, or would you want both? Housing?
No, I
No.
want housing.
You want housing, okay. Okay. For myself, I come from rural East County. Not only that, my entire career is emergency management. While I know so much about it, I also know or can participate in gaps. My PhD that I just got is literally emergency management. So it's really my bread and butter. So I'm always leaning into not things that you kind of want to look at things that you don't know, and you want to add to things that you do know. So I would be interested in transportation and emergency preparedness. Janet?
I fully agree with splitting up housing and transportation that together, that seemed really daunting. And very kind of different.
Yes.
I know transportation a lot of times goes with housing because you want to build where there's transportation, et cetera. But I think that's kind of a superficial level of that thing. I agree, the emergency preparedness is probably the top priority. I don't think there's any reason you can't agree on, it seems like that's kind of everybody's almost. Michelle. Everybody has sort of focused on that so far. It seems very timely. We have the emergency preparedness people hopefully coming to an upcoming meeting, and it seems doable. And then if we feel like we've made really good progress with that, then maybe we have this conversation again and look at another focus area. And I would presume that these focus areas are kind of the core of what we'd be doing. I don't think that eliminates the possibility of doing other things as it comes up. And when we have, we have other things that that might come our way.
Emerging needs.
And
yes.
emerging needs that I don't think we should say, oh, well, we're not working on that in this next 6 months, we're working on this. I think this just becomes kind of the center of it. And then everything else sort of gets our attention too, but maybe not that deeply.
So which ones were you interested in participating in?
I would say emergency preparedness, and housing if I need. Thinking too.
Standing. Michelle,
I would agree that the emergency preparedness seems to be imminently important right now. But, and also it never really got dealt with during COVID. In terms of access and, because I know I was super. And I guess my second is probably.
outstanding. So, I know that you can't see these, so.
Actually, Jessica is online, so if
She
you
is.
wanted to get her input.
Awesome. Let me just ask Michelle one thing. So 1 is emergency preparedness, 2 is housing, 3 is behavioral health, and 4 is transportation. So emergency preparedness and transportation for you, Michelle?
Yeah,
Okay, great. Thank you.
are we doing like first and second?
It's not really that, like,
Not ranking.
Yeah, Susan really kind of nailed that, or, sorry, Jeanette did. This is just the anchor, and then the concept
Is
is
there a
really
motion?
to say again.
Is there a motion? But
No,
Jessica
because I wanna
is,
get Jessica first.
yeah.
No, these aren't ranked, because I really want it to splinter out. And then everybody's passion kind of gets reported back within that scope of what we're looking at. Right, because my rural East County wouldn't be the same for Jeanette for emergency preparedness if she really was wanting to specifically look at something else. So it's untethering everybody, but just giving them sort of a base of what we should be talking about. And same goes that if it changes and something happens and everybody wants to talk about something else, or you have an individual project, you want to bring it to the board, and that's future business. Right, and so we know you're working on something and what it is, and if you can get support by everybody else and whatnot. With that being said, Jessica, good to see you.
Can we go back to give them permission to do this?
Yes.
You
She doesn't
don't
need
have
it.
to.
It's already done.
She's on an accommodation.
But you count
She's
for
she's
support,
approved.
you know.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my medical problems are acute right now, but I'm here. I'm glad to see you have quorum without me, and I hope to participate to the best of my ability. Michelle, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing your voice, so if you wouldn't mind speaking up, I would love to hear every word that you say. And I have not seen any of these focus areas. I haven't received anything in the mail for this month's stuff. And so I literally have no idea what we're talking about, other than I understand that we're choosing strategies for 2025, but I have no information leading up to this moment.
I sent you an email that had.
I don't read emails. That's
Oh.
been the whole point of the last 6 months of everything we've been working on for ADA accommodation. I have a vision impairment and I cannot read emails.
And I'm sorry for that. When I talked on the phone yesterday, you told me to send you an email, so I guess my bad.
I can handle, if there's only one way to communicate and that's via email, I can handle being tasked with having somebody help me open an email. But other than that, I'm not receiving any emails. I'm not reading any emails. Emails are not conducive to my particular neurological vision disability.
Jessica, the chair basically just read the document. So were you able to hear her reading the document?
No, and I'll take as much responsibility as I can for, why it's, medically so difficult and why I'm here not on time.
Well,
But
the 3 areas, if I can, the 3 areas are emergency, or 4 areas. are emergency preparedness and safety accessibility. That's one. The second is housing accessibility. And the third is behavioral health and crisis stabilization accessibility, with the fourth being transportation accessibility.
And how did we even come to these focus areas?
Right, so, if you recall the conversation you and I had yesterday,
Okay,
on the
first of
phone.
all, no, I don't. I don't recall anything. So let's just move it forward.
Okay, no worries. So this is loosely based on the Board of Supervisors 2025 strategic agenda that they put out.
Okay, that I am recalling.
Okay, great. So these are, in, sort of a soft alignment with the Board of Supervisors agenda. So what the goal was is to have foundational, topics, so that the board can focus on specific topics and go into the weeds into the topic.
I
But it
got
also-
you.
Okay, so it also allows each person to either do it by themselves, team up with somebody else in the board. It also allows them to grow inside of each topic. Right, so like I said, I'm rural East County, so my focus may be a little bit different than somebody on the board that lives in the city. And that is looking at emergency preparedness. So this is really just anchoring us for our year with the ability of anybody on the board to propose new topics of discussion.
Okay, I understand. I hear you. I know. So the four things that you're reading are based on the Board of Supervisors strategic initiatives for 2025.
Correct.
Okay, great. So of the choices, I'm going to choose behavioral health first and housing second. And I do think housing and transportation need to be separated. Thanks for explaining.
No worries. Okay, so as it stands for emergency preparedness and safety accessibility, we have Michelle, Jeanette, Umberto, Laura, and myself.
Sue,
I said, did I not say?
Sue, you want an emergency, right?
Yes. But you're so important. I'm so sorry about that. Let me rephrase, Sue, Michelle, Jeanette, Umberto, Laura, and myself for a number one item, emergency preparedness and safety accessibility. For housing, I have Jessica, Jeanette, Laura, and Susan. For number three, behavioral health and crisis stabilization accessibility, I have Jessica. And for transportation.
And Laura.
Oh, and Laura, okay. For behavioral health, right? Yeah. Okay, my bad. That's, I can't really hear out of my right side. I don't know if people know that. So sometimes it's, if it circles back around, I get it. If not, sometimes it takes me twice. Sorry.
And that kick you.
No.
And I can hear Carolyn and Todd very well. It's hard for me to hear everyone else. So if you guys could speak directly into the microphone, please.
Sure. And then for number four, for transportation accessibility, I have myself and Michelle. So my final question to the entire board is, do we keep all four, distill it down to three? And does that mean that, for example, behavioral health, we have two folks interested in transportation, we have two folks interested, that we can't also do that? No. So my next question is feedback. Do we want to keep all four and have that as the foundation to work on? And Umberto.
Thinking, I think that I think the way we're approaching it is good, and we should definitely keep in mind, our minds open to shifting and adjusting, because I think it might be a huge daunting task to take on four things,
Right,
with a small board.
right.
But I like the approach, and I think we just need to keep an open mind in terms of adjusting our strategy or our focus.
And Laura.
Yeah, it sounds like to me, the emergency preparedness and safety accessibility is a good overall anchor for, I think almost all of us to work on. And then I agree, not cutting off other projects that are, people want to work on or something comes up as well.
Okay. Sue,
I really, think we should focus on, I think we should list all four. And we should prioritize the ones that have the most investment. So the and I don't think it's trash the other ones, but it's emergency preparedness with everybody across the board.
Yep.
So that to me is a no-brainer. And I think that the other thing we can receive speakers on, there might be emerging needs that would be relevant. And I think we should keep it tight as a committee. I'm very concerned about, I don't mind researching something, but then I need time to say, here's what I think. But I think these are such big issues, and they're already being studied and looked at by way other, more people than us, more than just county. And that it would behoove us to all hear from certain parties that are key in these focus areas.
outstanding. For myself, it makes sense to anchor us in emergency preparedness and safety accessibility, as well as housing, with behavioral health and transportation as not side projects, because they're just as important, but clearly the investment is less. But it's not an unimportant topic. So I think we anchor in the first two, which is emergency preparedness and housing, with the behavioral health and transportation being looked at by those who have that interest.
Are we calling this focus areas?
It makes sense to do that.
Yep.
I agree with that. I think the emergency preparedness part dovetails nicely with, hopefully the Office of Emergency Services will be able to come to our next meeting or perhaps the one after that, because I think that, like you've said, that's been pending for a while, and I think that might be a good place to start, in addition to discussing, like the specific evacuation procedures for here.
Jessica has her hand up. I don't know if you want to take her or.
Well, let me finish with Michelle, because she's in the line. So hang on just one second, Jess. Go ahead, Michelle.
I actually think that we should, the emergency preparation seems to be, clear, but, and I'm good with that. I do think we should keep all the others on the same level. Whether one extra person shows that, it's like my choices weren't that solid, that I wouldn't be just as happy filtering into something else. And if we've got people working on some things, I can see, working on the others. It feels that these four topics, period, could be addressed on some level. The depth will be up to the group. But I think that I wouldn't really want to just like delegate it to a different level. I think that all of them are intersectional. I mean, and all of them have to do with quality of life and, our safety essentially. So I would like to see them all kept on that same level. But, we can choose and then move on as something else peaks out.
Got it. Thank you. Jessica. You are muted. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I would like to agree with Michelle on that. I would like to keep an equal focus on all areas. And my enthusiasm for emergency services is coming from wanting to support all of you, my team, who wants to focus on this. So, if my team wants to focus on this, I'm in. One area that would make it feel more wholesome to me is if we could add public safety, public in front of the word safety, to continue the holistic work we're doing around the Senate bill Senior and Disability Justice Act. That way we're not completely throwing to the wind something the committee's been working on for 3 years that we are very close to completing, but not quite there. Around senior and disability justice within the justice system, 911, dispatch, fire, and police. I really don't want to see that disappear from our strategic agenda. So my request would be if we could add public in front of the word safety to bring it more holistically together around all emergency services, I would feel really extra enthusiastic about that.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. So thank you for bringing that.
Carolyn, is that under number 1?
Yes, so instead of emergency preparedness and safety accessibility, it's going to be emergency preparedness and public safety accessibility.
Yes.
And I apologize, Jessica, I forgot about being in front of it.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. No worries.
And I do see that Phyllis's comment is she's happy to contribute to emergency preparedness and housing. Phyllis, that would be amazing. Remember, you have to get appointed on the board, but I like your gusto.
Actually, Madam Chair, if you wanted to set up an ad hoc committee or subcommittee on certain topics, members of the public could also contribute that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at any time, members of the public can forward information that we can use within our discussions and within our preparation.
Right, that's not, and that would even fall into agenda item number 2.
Which is what?
3. No. Yeah, 4, sorry.
Public comment.
Public comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, sorry, that's right.
Whatever number.
We do, sorry about that. And so obviously there's a few revisions to be made. But as a whole, I'd like to make a motion to, with the modification of the add of public into line number 1, emergency preparedness and public safety accessibility. I would make a motion to have this document as our strategic focus for 2025. Do I have second?
I'll second.
Michelle, you're fantastic, Michelle. All right.
Discussion.
Any further discussion on this until I see you?
Yeah, my only, I guess, comment would be, and maybe I'm getting too ahead of myself, just to set maybe some tangible outcome that we want, maybe a letter to the board, or however we want to, kind of culminate the work that we'll be doing this year, and maybe set a timeline. I know I'm getting way ahead of myself. We can talk about that, but I think it'd be good to just have like a goal right at the end, and I mean a goal in terms of a timeline and some sort of tangible, communication with the board that we can, send with time, so that if they need to take action or do anything, we can, have that time frame. But
Yeah, that's a great point. And just so that everybody sees where I'm coming from, and of course you guys can have feedback on it. But my goal is that if somebody takes on a project, and it's within the scope of, for example, emergency preparedness and public accessibility, and you find the gap, my expectation is that you are going to come back to the board and you're going to come back with a narrative and a recommendation that we will discuss so that we can then forward that off to the board of supervisors, because that's our whole entire task. And up to this point, we have yet to send a single recommendation to the board of supervisors. So the way I look at it is if you are in the lane of emergency preparedness and public accessibility, you found the gap. You are more than welcome, and I look forward to you coming to the meeting and saying, this is what I looked at. Here's my narrative and here is my recommendation. We will discuss it, we will vote on it, and we will send it off to the board of supervisors. And I would really like to start pushing them out, not for a sense of urgency, but a sense of viability to the board. Right, because they don't, there's a reason this board's been around for so long and they don't know who we are. Right, so I really like to change that. So my expectation is if you are picking up any one of 1 through 4, that you know from this point forward, I'm excited for you to come with a narrative and a recommendation. So that is how I see this working out. So
I think we should eliminate all of the number 1, number 2 right now. So they're all equal. They're in, we can put them in any order we want. Alpha is fine, and there's no controversy. We should have a heading, which is focus areas 2025. And I think we could have a slot for gaps identified. The goal is fine. I think I'm more concerned about outcomes. What are we gonna get on this? And I don't wanna be a wuss about this, but I don't always know what the gaps and the outcomes are, because I haven't dug into it. And I think that if we get into it more with different organizations, like I would strongly recommend the Red Cross to come as well. They run a ton of shelters. And I served on the disability integration team with Red Cross for 3 years. So, they have a lot. And it's valuable because that's the sheltering part. And they're a private nonprofit, but these are community issues. And we should bring in others, not just county people. And then I think when we identify a big gap or an outcome that we'd like to see, then trigger, okay, we go to the board on us.
If I might, I think, Umberto, it would not be inappropriate for the committee to, once the document is drafted, to share the strategic focus areas for the Committee for Persons with Disabilities with the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, even if you examine an area and find there is no gap, then to report that, it's excellent also. It's not work that's done for nothing.
Right,
Right.
I like to rephrase that. What's that?
Would you like to take the motion?
Well, I want to make sure somebody has, so. Yeah.
No,
I also agree that when we are going to do something as a committee, that we should also include a letter, a communication with the Board of Supervisors. I think Umberto, you were the one that brought that up.
Wait a second. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I muted, and so Jessica couldn't hear anything. Can you hear now, Jessica?
Appears to be frozen.
Okay, so let's do this. I don't want to speak for her, but I'm assuming what she was also circling back with is Umberto's conversation about including a letter to the Board of Supervisors that lets them know what our strategic agenda is, so that if they have any feedback on that, or they have this, or they will get visibility on what our agenda is, they may also have feedback on that at some point, right? So it's letting them know, hey, this is what we're doing. We're aligning with your strategic agenda. Look forward to having some recommendations come out of the board, out of this board to their board.
Agree.
Okay, perfect. And in addition, I think that when Sue, and again, I'm not gonna speak for you, but maybe the strategic focus, bullet point should really be that, the hope is that an individual board member, or collectively as a team, if you put yourself into teams, or of course, public whatnot, that are strategic focus for 2025, for example, inside of emergency preparedness and public safety accessibility, the strategic focus would be that an individual board member or team brings forth a gap with a narrative, then the member brings a recommendation. Again, obviously, we have dialogue and conversation about that. In addition, in the event that that no gap was found, that both the gap that was found, conversely, if a gap was not found, a document gets created to the Board of Supervisors for a recommendation or a no gap found. So that should really be what the focus is, because all these additional things, ensuring evacuation, we can't do any of this, but what we can do is bring a letter to the Board of Supervisors. If we found a gap, for example, evacuation routes, then we provide that gap in a narrative with a recommendation that gets talked about and voted on and moves forward on that.
I would use the word need instead of gap.
Yeah,
Opportunity?
okay. Opportunity.
And because I believe that there will be opportunities, whether gap, but I believe there will be opportunities to improve in anything. So,
Right, and so my thought when I crafted this was it was going to be narrow focused with the understanding that everybody opens up their aperture and focuses on what your passion is inside of each bullet, or each, I know we're not supposed to be bullet points, but dot points, focus area. And so keep in mind that it really is your open aperture inside of each focus area. So run free with it. And that's where you come back and you say, hey, we should have this person come speak to the board because we think there's an opportunity here. We're not sure what it is. Let's talk to this person. Let's have them present to the board. And then if there is a gap you individually find, or you find as a team, there you go. You're sneaking up behind me. I was like, how I'm saying. Okay, so if everybody, is there any other conversation about this?
The other words I would choose to use are what's working, because it's really good to tell the county board of supervisors what we think is really working well. And then what could be better? What could work better? So that it's needs, but sometimes it's a little soft.
Good point. So with all the additions made, anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns on this document as we've adjusted it? And Umberto is going to make the necessary changes. Michelle? Oh, I'm sorry.
Jaime. So you're When you say make the necessary changes,
So removing the focus area, bulleting points,
drafting the document.
crafting the document, right? So adding public, removing the bullet points, putting it in alphabetical order, making everything.
Why don't,
readable.
well, I mean, we can take it off, offline, but I think it'd be good for the committee to draft the document and then approve it once it's drafted.
Checking your box in.
And I'm not sure that we want to not put the emergency prep first, since that seemed to be where people felt the time's emergency.
Yeah,
Am I wrong with that?
you're not wrong. I just put in alphabetical because somebody put up alphabetical. So, so if everybody's okay, let's leave it as is. Obviously, removing the optics of one is more important than the other, and making the corrections. So I don't think I can make a motion at this point because we're gonna make corrections to the document.
It might be reasonable to do it next month.
Okay.
And it might be great for the OES, the Office of Emergency Services, to hear the fact that it is a priority.
Okay, is everybody in agreement with that, or?
Yes, yes.
Jessica, can you hear us?
I can hear some of you, but some of you I can't hear. But I mean, I'm getting it. I'm getting most of it. Maybe like I'm missing about 25%.
Did
So-
you hear that suggestion about, keeping the emergency, prep on top? But
No, I heard about making them all equal, which I'm in agreement with.
But equal could mean just taking away the numbers, but
Right.
leaving them in the same order. Would you that not feel comfortable?
I'm okay with any order. If we're going to leave them all as potential priorities, then I'm okay with any order. I'm also okay with picking one priority and doing it for the whole year. You know, there's pros and cons to every way that we approach things each year. You know, we do it a little differently, but I think we've learned that it's very hard to really accomplish things even in a given year. So I would be okay with you know, with what we have now or something different. The one thing I do want to remind old committee members and bring forth to new committee members is that we did almost 3 years ago, maybe a little over 2, I think, have the Office of Emergency Services on. It was one of the first meetings we did in my first year. And we all made recommendations that they have some kind of special needs registry, and they opted not to take those recommendations. And the Office of Emergency Services Emergency Preparedness believes that the community should support each other rather than having individuals with special needs have those special needs already provided voluntarily, of course, to 911 or the Office of Emergency Preparedness, and they declined that recommendation. So I just wanted to bring that back up for everybody's memory, and I'm hoping that if we're going to take this on as a major priority, then we could make a real impact in that.
Thank you for that ad. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna table this, if everybody's okay with that, and we're gonna make the adjustments, grammatically, and, send that all back out to everyone and put it in the mail for Jessica, and anybody else who may need it. And then we'll bring this back up, at the next meeting and we will vote on it. So thank you.
So I'm just gonna, make the changes.
Jaime.
My statement was it'd be better for the committee to, since this is a committee
I
document.
talk to him all the time now, so I'm not throwing you out. You're amazing. I just, for some reason, you know what, Susan, you're gonna make all these great adjustments. And because Jaime, also has, record keeping as well, that you guys can work together and make those adjustments, or?
This recording will be available as well, so if there's any question about.
So, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Jaime, if you wanna,
I'll look at it and make changes.
Jaime, if you could send her the minutes from this, that would be amazing. That'll help her out. I appreciate it. Sue, I'm sorry, I'm not leaving you out on purpose. I swear to God. Okay, we are on to agenda item number 6, which is our description of invisible disabilities. If, I'm hoping, that everybody has had the opportunity to look at this document. This document, Michelle, it states crafted in partnership with the Persons with Disabilities Advisory Committee. It is my hope, I crafted the document. It is my hope that this ends up being a training module. This document was predicated off the DA coming to this board and talking to us and with Summer Stephens and the Sheriff's Department in regards to, they wish that they knew a way to help their officers become more aware of invisible disabilities in their interaction with the community when there's, traffic stop or law enforcement is interacting with somebody. So it gave me the idea to come up with this document in hopes that this document goes into their pro certification, or at the very least is housed at the San Diego Sheriff's Department, housed at the DA's office, etc. This is a exhaustive document. So the objective, it says the training is designed to equip law enforcement officers with the knowledge, skills, and awareness to recognize, accommodate, and respectfully interact with individuals who have disabilities, both visible and invisible, during traffic stops and other law enforcement encounters. The goal is to ensure the protection of individuals with disabilities under the law, promote effective communication, and improve overall interactions. The applicable laws are Americans with Disabilities Act, California SB 338, California AB 449, and SB 43. Qualifying checklist. Identify a person with a disability for protection and consideration. Officers should be aware that disabilities may not always be visible. Below is a checklist to help officers identify when an individual may require special considerations or accommodations under the law, particularly in relation to interactions during traffic stop or other encounters. Obviously, we've used not dots, my bad. But the first one is assistive devices or technologies. Does the individual use or require assistive devices such as a wheelchair, cane, hearing aids, prosthetics, or assistive technology like communication boards, voice amplifiers? 2, caregiver assistance.
That can also be glasses.
Correct. Yep. So this said EG, so it was an example of like, here's some. The issue kind of comes into, there are so many things that can be added to this list. When do you stop? Right? So it was more, I wanted to make it where it's digestible for an officer or trainer. 2, caregiver assistance. Does the individual rely, and these questions are from the officer to the individual they are interacting with. Caregiver assistance. Does the individual rely on a caregiver for activities of daily living, such as bathing, dressing, grooming, feeding, mobility assistance, managing medications or personal care, assistance with housekeeping or meal prep? This caregiver may be a family member, paid professional, public assistance provider, etc. Social Security disability benefits. Does a person receive Social Security or supplemental security? This also includes other disability related financial assistance, disabilities. This looks like this is.
This is the combined.
Yeah, I was reading it and I was thinking, this looks like this is Jessica's piece. That's not.
Now, did you want just the list of disabilities?
Correct.
Okay, because I have that.
No,
Oh
it's email.
my God, you guys trying to
Bottom
kill me
of
right
the page.
Okay, so hold fire. So this.
Okay, so
So, just for clarification, these two documents were not supposed to be handed out as, co-mingled. The last time, I think I sent all of you an email specifically with just the list and not this commingled document. So, our apologies. So in your brain, remove everything I just said. Okay, so invisible disabilities, understanding the unseen. Individual disabilities.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. But what is going on right now?
So we are on agenda item number 6, and we are talking about the document I crafted for invisible disabilities.
And how did we know you were crafting? I am totally.
Yeah, you and I worked on this for a couple of months, and then you had said you didn't want your piece that you had crafted because it was underneath your nonprofit included in this list. So the list was actually separated from your contribution to contribution. You said you didn't want those two together, so they were separated. So this
Right, but
document,
assuming that we would be working on the document moving forward, now there's a whole entire new document that blends all kinds of stuff together that also isn't correct in what we're trying to convey to law enforcement. And I'm just seeing it for the first time.
I hear you.
It's not supposed to have been together.
Again, this document wasn't supposed to be commingled together.
But what it showed is that there's a document that somebody else wrote that has all this information in it that's not correct and is a retranslation of what I presented to Todd. And now it's coming back an injured document, and clearly there's a document and I didn't know about it.
Don't know, in fairness, I hear you because I don't know what this first piece of the document actually is. That's why when I started reading it, I'm like, that's not. So let me do this. Let me table your inquiry because it's totally valid. Let me figure out where this document came back or came from,
Or who wrote it?
and who wrote it, because I didn't, because
Well, Todd might have.
This is the document that you and Jessica worked on.
I know. So I think I know what's going on. So
Like,
I have up on being shared is the list of invisible disabilities. So that
right,
that's
but now
a
there's
separate
another
document.
document that's been rewritten. That's a different version of the document that has been worked on for years by various stakeholders. And now that document's repeated in a new document and it's injured. So, like chronic homelessness, for instance, is not the point is that if somebody is designated as chronically homeless, not by definition, but by having been designated as such in the system, law enforcement can very easily reach out to their homeless outreach team or their clinicians or look in their system and find out if an individual is labeled as chronically homeless. And if they are labeled as chronically homeless in our various systems, that means they have a disabling condition and therefore need to be treated accordingly under SB 338, Senior and Disability Justice Act, and the corresponding law enforcement mandatory senior and disability victimization policy. So it's not about breaking down the definition of chronic homelessness. It's about the fact that if a law enforcement officer encounters somebody that has been labeled chronically homeless, they know for a fact that that person falls under the Senior and Disability Justice Act and the Senior and Disability Victimization Policy, and therefore include them in those protections. Just to clarify on one issue here. So all I'm asking for is I'm gonna stop talking, but I'm just gonna ask again, like, the communication for me continues to be really challenging. I need to be kept informed of and educated and given large print stuff that I can read and have people communicating with me regularly about what's going on. Thank you very much.
Yep, no worries. Thank you for that. Let's move to the, so if everybody looks either at their screen or at this document on page 2, let's start with the invisible disabilities. This is a document I crafted, again, with the hopes that it goes into post-certification, and this specific document, post-cert, DA, Sheriff's Department to help interactions with law enforcement.
Chair, could you explain post? People don't
Post,
know.
I don't know what the actual acronym is, but post-certification is when a candidate wants to go to law enforcement. They take the post-certification, which includes the physical fitness, the law enforcement tool, et cetera. It's an encompassing way for an individual interested in being law enforcement. They have to go through the school. And if they graduate, they then become post-certified, and that post-certification gets to any law enforcement agency, and they can get hired.
Peace officer.
Peace officer training. Thank you.
Peace officer standards and training.
Thank you for that. So invisible disabilities are conditions that may not be immediately apparent, but significantly affect how an individual processes information, communicates, and interacts with others. Law enforcement officers should be trained to identify and respond appropriately to individuals with these disabilities, as they may not always exhibit outward signs of impairment. Below is a list of invisible disabilities that may impact interactions. In the sake of time,
We already looked at this
We did.
and said, okay, and if we vote on it,
I haven't seen it,
Michelle hasn't seen it, and I'm not sure if Laura's seen it.
and Jessica has it.
okay,
No, I
So-
mean, I believe I've seen it. I would like to say if we're going to provide them something like this, we need to edit it for anything that's going to affect civil rights of an individual by challenging their ability to be have self-agency. And also I would recommend that we put what the person should do, like just the fact that an officer might see something and hear a processing order they haven't heard of before. It's not letting them know what they should do in response to that.
And I hear you, but what's it?
Interaction with other ones.
this last section. of
Yeah,
this.
so if you, there is on page, if everybody turns to.
That's part of Jessica's document, though.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, this
Yours
could have.
is just a list of invisible disabilities.
Okay,
Yeah, these need to be separated.
yeah,
I'm also
Okay,
just
wait.
curious.
let's do this.
I would move to separate out the list and the forward comment about qualifying checklist for identifying a person with a disability. No, I'm sorry. That I would separate out the invisible disabilities section of this document. I move to accept it and send it out to whoever and be done with it.
I adamantly disagree. But what Jessica's saying is very clear that we need to individually go through those and to add comments to it as to what needs to be done related to each of those. Not just throw it out there.
So I'm gonna.
There's a motion without a second.
Right. I don't want it a second, because if we don't have a second, then the motion doesn't
It
carry.
does.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, so I will say that, an email was sent out to every, I know what you're
I
saying.
don't mean-
I know what you're saying.
Can you just read the
Well, in the interest in time, it's 6 pages, so why don't we do this? Can I call you tomorrow and read it out with you?
Yes.
Okay, I'm
The
gonna,
6 pages just of invisible,
no, the whole document, so what?
the invisible ones.
Is-
Invisible
is 2.5.
disabilities is 2 pages.
Yeah, it's 2 pages. So we're at 421 right now, and what I wanna do is, in the interest of time, because we still have a couple things to get through. I'm going to, the motion didn't carry, so I'm gonna table this, I'm gonna give you a call, Michelle, and go through it. I know that to Laura and Umberto, an email was sent out to you guys. You didn't get it.
I have a question. do we need to vote to separate the document to do the edits that's already approved, or can we do that offline and then just restart the whole?
I'd rather separate it, and then do a restart and have this on,
Yeah, that
future, for next one.
It wasn't approved as a full document.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
How
no,
about this, I'll move to, well, I don't know if this works, to, I guess we need to table and then do that and then,
Yeah.
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 I think.
I would say just table it
yeah.
and get it
Do we
separated.
have a second on that one? Michelle?
Yes.
Okay,
I do have a question for you, Chair.
hold fire, that's okay. All those in favor to, table this document, so it can be separated and.
Does the question
represented.
have to do with the motion? Nope, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstains? Okay, motion passes. Thank you for that. Laura?
Yes, thank you. So my question is the list of invisible disabilities?
I think you guys
not-
just
not
left my
supposed to be
vote out.
comprehensive. So that's what stands out to me, is that this is a partial list, it's an example, but it doesn't capture every invisible disability. So that's what concerns me. about it.
Correct. And, I'm gonna track down a couple things for accountability. I know that, it was asked that an email, especially, I think at the last one we were at the diocese, that you and Bertram didn't get it. And I thought I'd asked for that email to be sent out to you for comments, because the other folks that had been here and have seen this now 100 times were kind of over it. And wanted to move it forward, right? But because you two were new, if you recall that conversation, I wanted to have you guys be able to do your feedback on it. It seems like that didn't happen, so.
Which
for-
document do you want them to receive?
just-
Could you, if you could send that document, we'll most definitely get it sent.
Okay, it's my bad. I don't know what happened. I'll solve it. So I will send, I will send in concert with Jaime. Sorry, if it's getting close to 5 o'clock, my TBI medications are wearing off. You can get what you get. Jaime, I'm gonna work with you, and Sue for, crafting a better document.
Wow,
Oh,
I'm not in
I'll
this.
work with you on
I'm
it.
sorry.
okay, then I'll work with Jeanette.
I'm not in on it.
Okay.
Been on it.
It's gonna be myself and Jeanette, thank you,
I'm
and,
I'm
Jaime,
interested.
we
I've
work
always
on
been
that.
interested.
So we'll separate the document, so you
Hello.
understand. The whole point is, I wanted everybody to add what is missing on this document, with the understanding that we are not gonna cover everything, because at some point we have to stop. It is an example of invisible disabilities for law enforcement, for the DA, so that interaction can be a little bit easier, because as somebody who comes from law enforcement, as I do from the military side, you can only have so many little cheat sheets of stuff that you need to know about, and at some point, so it was more of a high level, these could be invisible disabilities that you, law enforcement person interacting with the public, may not know about. So it's just like an addendum add-on, and it can't include everything. It can if you want it to, but somebody who had done this for a living, that's gonna be, a big hip pocket train thing. So add everything, we're going to leave something out. I don't want to leave anything out, but
Time.
okay, so moving forward, like Sue said, time. Okay.
Hello.
You are
Hi.
on the ADA accommodation interactive process with IHSS and VHS.
Am I muted or unmuted?
Nope.
We hear you.
We hear you.
Okay, so did you hear me
Yay.
mention, hey, you guys voted without me?
I think the
I
answer,
think the is muted.
I think you were muted.
Right, I've been unmuted and trying to talk, but I guess somebody had me muted on the backside, but I don't know what's going on. I've been talking.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
It's not a
I
legal
can
vote
work it
if you want
backwards.
everybody's
Work it backwards. So let's redo it again. Jaime, restate your motion, please.
Yeah, it was oh. I need to turn my mic on. It was just a table, and to restart the process, to separate documents and restart the process. So that we can have one final look and then eventually next meeting, make the approval.
Can I get a
Yes,
second?
and what I was trying to say before you guys ended with comments and took a vote was, I have been interested in working on this and continue to be interested in working on this document with you.
Outstanding. So now we're going to re-vote on, actually, Michelle okay, Michelle seconds. All those in favor to table, say aye.
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 Jessica,
I,
thank you so much.
right.
Any opposed? Any abstains? All right, we will table that. Thank you. Sorry about that, Jessica.
no worries, I just wanted to make sure we had a legal vote.
Yep, no worries. I appreciate you. So it is all you. Agenda item number 7, ADA accommodation interactive process with IHHS and THS.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay, forgive me for my floundering, but here we go. What is the matter here?
long as Lucas is not floundering.
No, Lucius is totally relaxed. Okay. To my fellow committee members, on my own as a person with a disability who has been part of various county department programs to help people with disabilities, it's been a little over 11 years that I've been researching specifically behavioral health services and IHSS services, both as a person receiving those services and also as a voice for people in the community when I'm able. And then, as you all know, except for some of our new members, for the last 2+ years, our committee has been working on identifying gaps in accessibility in all 52 departments, but specifically we have been working on IHSS for at least over 2 years in terms of them not having a formal ADA reasonable modification process and just doing more on the fly accommodations as the person, you know, if the caseworker is asked on the fly, as opposed to something more formal and teased out by an ADA coordinator. And then in the last few months, as a committee, we've been able to distill these topics down to some essentials. So I am making a recommendation that we send a letter to the Board of Supervisors asking them to initiate a robust ADA interactive process for all residents of the County of San Diego who participate in aging and independent services and behavioral health services. This is an initial recommendation. It's not meant to be the end of the recommendations to the Board of Supervisors regarding accessibility in all 52 departments, but just a starting pilot point, for lack of a better term, because we know that both aging and independent services and behavioral health services serve only people with disabilities. So that seems like a very good starting point for us to hone in on accessibility within county departments. So again, my recommendation is that we send a letter to the Board of Supervisors asking them to initiate a robust ADA interactive process for all residents of the County of San Diego participating in IHSS and behavioral health services. And this ADA process needs to be equivalent to the ADA interactive process provided through the HR department to county employees. I think that's it.
Outstanding. So let's open it up for discussion.
Hi, Jessica, it's Sue. I
Hi.
have. Thanks. You mean that every client right now is requesting that they all get this? Or should it say upon request by individual? Or
I'm open to that. I personally think since every person referred into those two departments who will be accepted into those two departments meets the definition of disability under the California definition of disability, I think that there should be an ADA interactive file for every single individual brought in. That doesn't mean that every individual is going to have robust, needs. It doesn't mean every individual is going to have to be accommodated, but so I'm open to that. I'm open to whether it's if requested or for everybody. But I know that, for instance, the people that I have advocated for who are engaged in BHS services, when they ask for it, it can be responded to very dismissively and without a formal process. Like, as soon as a person says anything about needing accommodation, it should move into something more formal, not something like, oh, we'll get back to you, or no, we don't think that's a good idea. It should be something formal. And I don't know that all individuals entering into behavioral health services, especially those with a higher level need functionally with their set of disabilities, will know to ask for that. So if we're going to do it, anybody that requests it, then we need to make sure that everybody intaking is asking if there are accommodation needs.
you're exactly right. And so that leads me to say, that I believe we're requesting them to adopt the policy of the interactive process and telling people that upon acceptance of services, and then providing that upon request. So everybody coming in the door knows about it. And it's in writing somewhere, I assume we want it posted in writing. And then upon a request, you enter into the interactive process, right?
Yeah, I think that there could be a pushback, because what I hear often is that, they send out letters that have the discrimination rights and responsibilities.
Yeah,
But, I just know from personal experience within the systems, as well as professionally using my voice to help other people who can't use theirs, that when it's requested, it doesn't become formalized. It's very easy to dismiss it as, especially if it comes verbally. I just think it's really tricky. We have to remember that we're dealing with, in the worst case, a population of people that really can't speak, possibly can't, move, can't utilize computer devices, and don't have somebody by their side helping them. And I just want to make it so that people with acuity can have the same robust process that employees have.
I know Michelle had a question.
What are, I lost you on the two, you said that you wanted to make sure that this happened, particularly in the two departments. What are those two departments?
In-home supportive services under the Aging and Independence Department. So Aging and Independence Department serves only people with disabilities, including seniors who have disabilities due to advanced age. And then behavioral health services also is only going to be providing services for somebody who at minimum meets the California definition of disabled, which is a physical or mental impairment that limits one or more areas of major of daily living, whereas the federal definition is substantially limits. But under the California definition of just limits, I can pretty confidently say that BHS is not going to be providing services to anybody that doesn't meet that definition. So both of those departments are two departments that we know for sure serve at least a vast majority of people with disabilities. I could say the same for housing, but housing's more split. You know, you have people with disabilities, you have people that just don't make a lot of money. It's a wider group of people. But with aging and independence and BHS, it really is only serving people with disabilities. And currently, they do not have a file for those individuals called an ADA interactive file, and there's not an interactive process with those individuals, including when they bring up asking for an accommodation or even having a caseworker write an accommodation for them. It still just disappears, or isn't in the ACT program. It's not even accepted.
I'm trying to understand what this looks like. It sounds like for every person that is getting these services, requesting these services, making an application, that should be an additional part that is asked of them as to, do they need accommodation?
Yes. Or even better, every single person with a disability that's brought into a department service would automatically be engaged in an ADA interactive process, just like any HR employee with a disability.
Well, what I heard you say is everybody gets that as an employee and they don't. They can get it, but it's based on request.
I'm
And
sorry, say that last word, Susan. It's based on what?
request,
So if somebody applies for a job and brings forth their disability at the onset of the job, then that would be the request you're referring to?
no. If I decide to disclose, and sometimes people are advised not to disclose if they have a disability.
Right.
But if you do disclose it, or you have a very visible disability like I do, I assume my environment is going to be accessible. And I go about my job until there's an issue, and then I would request an ADA reasonable accommodation process. So it's not, I don't get that by walking in the door.
Right. I hear you.
Nor do I need it walking in the door.
Yes. Because you are walking into it as if everything is accessible until it's not.
That is exactly right.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. I think the only difference between that and aging and independent and BHS is that aging and independence and BHS, if you're in there, you're disabled.
Well, I'm disabled and I'm in here. I mean, we're everywhere, Jessica. And what I'm saying is,
Like you can't make the assumption that somebody wants this because they're disabled, because they may not
Exactly.
operate that way.
That's
And
exactly
just from a
right.
time standpoint, we've got 20 minutes.
I also think that, that maybe the point, if I'm understanding Jessica correctly, is that this should be, very well known, that people who want to make a request are welcome to make a request, and that request will be taken seriously with this robust process, not ignored. Not that people would be forced to make a request, but that it be explained to people that this is a process that we will go through when you find yourself in need of it.
Because
Beautiful.
Yes.
the policy
Beautiful.
change.
Yeah, if that was at the intake of a behavioral health services service, yeah.
All
Can I
right.
make a
Oh, yeah,
quick comment? And this is, in the interest of time and efficiency for making this happen. I agree that I think we should definitely, send out a letter, but, knowing how the board works, I think we should, and this is my recommendation, we should consider sending, a brief note, a brief letter to, all the board members to see which board member would be interested in hearing this proposal. Because we would need to actually, everything that's being discussed right now we would need to talk to one of the policy advisors from the board. Because they would be the ones creating the board letter, creating the board policy with our input. If we get them to Because if we just send a letter to the board, they might not read it, they might not do anything. So I think in the interest of time and efficiency and just to be able to have an impact, we should consider drafting and Jessica might, she has probably the language, the appropriate language, and we can approve it. Just a brief letter to reach out to the board and see which board member or which, district would be willing to engage with our board, and then just a brief discussion, because then the policy advisor that's taking care of this area would have to, with the approval of the supervisor, would then start working on a policy or a board letter to initiate a process like this. And then everything that we're discussing right now would have to be hashed out with the policy advisor and with, with that team. So I think we're getting I love the discussion. I think it's worth having it. But I think we're way ahead of ourselves if we're trying to solve the issue right here. We definitely need to send a letter to engage and to get a response and get something going. But I think that would be better use of our time as a board. But I agree, this is an important, also one last thing, if we know that there's another county that has already adopted this, it'd be great to, do some research and find out, because then we can already say, look, the county of Monterey already did this, we should also, not because they're doing it, we should do it, but, this is an example. So anyway, just wanted to throw my 2 cents.
You know what, that's where we all get to learn and grow being on this board, because in fairness and in transparency, I didn't know that. So thank you for that ad, because, when I was talking to Jessica, her main concern was, well, what about the board supervisors? We sent them a letter, they don't do anything. And in fairness, I didn't have the best answer for her. But you are showing the answer. And so this is why it's so important to have all these different voices here. And I appreciate that feedback, because I learned something new. And Jessica, hopefully that quells the conversation concern that we had when you and I talked about, where's the power behind the recommendation? And that's really what it is. So thanks for that.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And it's really hearing what you just said, which brings it all together. So each one of us is expected to be communicating with our supervisor that appointed us. And then, we could even, this is how I see it done in another committee. Each district could have a ongoing quarterly meeting or whatever with their supervisor. And then we bring these recommendations to asking for a supervisor and their policy person to work with us. And then we bring it to the whole board of supervisors. That is like a 4 or 5 pronged approach, and it is awesome.
All right, thanks for the feedback for that. I think what makes sense is, we're gonna table this. Right? Sorry. But let's do this in the interest of time. Let's table this, and Jessica and Roberto, maybe you guys can work together. I know Jessica and I are still working together on this, but because you brought something forward that I didn't know about, I love if we can all have some sort of conversation about it offline and craft that document and bring it back next month and discuss it, and then push it through to to what Roberto was talking about. So
I would love it if we could have it before the next meeting. Sent out, with the minutes and the agenda. So that I
We'll send
can-
out what we have. We'll
Right.
send out what we get.
Yeah,
You
if
get what you
somebody can get it to you, team. Because then we don't have to go through this ad nauseum. It takes too long. It's a arduous process. It's a great process, but
Got it. Great.
The
Michelle, go ahead.
the next
I'm just
item.
gonna say that to me, going through it is the purpose of this committee.
Yeah.
It's we're being able to hear different people's perspective on it, why this is important.
And how to do it properly, because some people have more experience than others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just doing it quick to get to check it off.
Yeah.
Defeats the purpose.
Yeah, and so in consideration of time.
The next item is the disability checklist
Right,
that
so,
Jessica created.
Right,
And I
so.
think you all have a copy of
We
that.
do. We do. Jessica, I just want to caution, it is 4:46 and we've got a couple other things to do. Would you like to pick up, number 8, qualifying the disability special consideration and protection under the law? This is the documents that, that you specifically have. Do you have that ready or are we tabling?
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
I mean, I guess I'm confused because we didn't prep for this one, but I mean, there's a pretty wholesome document. It might not be perfectly refined. There's room within it to work with the trainer for adult protective services. I want to share with you guys. I wanted to share this in public comments, but I didn't make it. But Assembly Bill 1906, I think, actually passed and was signed, and that's to remove dependent adult from the literature and replace it with persons with disabilities. And for new people, you might not understand what that means, and I'm happy to share it with you however you want. For those of you who have been with us, oh God, I can't even I'm really struggling, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm really struggling.
Jessica, I don't know if you're able to see what's up on the screen, but this is your disability checklist that's up on the screen. And I didn't know if you wanted to have any action from the committee.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I knew was that you had refined the document I sent to you. It looks a little different than the one on the screen. The one on the screen isn't quite matching the one I wrote. For instance, the status of chronic homelessness. It doesn't make it clear how that's an automatic qualifier for these special protections. So, I mean, honestly, I feel like we could do so much better than just these two documents separately. I feel like this is part of a movement around the fact that San Diego County law enforcement is not compliant in Senate Bill 338, which is the Senior and Disability Justice Act. That's the bottom line. And I feel like we could do a lot better by being more holistic about it. So, you know, I don't really know what else to
Why
say.
don't we go ahead and table this? I know that we wanted to basically get a recommendation on where did you want this to go? If you wanted to make a motion for this document, but it sounds like the document isn't totally done yet. So in the interest of time, do you want to table it?
Yeah, I just don't even, there's things in that document that just didn't come from me. So it's
Okay.
not a document I recognize anymore.
Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and table it. Number 9, committee business bylaws.
So the bylaws were submitted at the last Board of Supervisor meeting, and it was submitted in the consent agenda, and it was approved. So this committee now have your own separate bylaws, and I can make sure that we put that up on the website so that you all will be able to have that available. And I think that's pretty much it. And thank you, Chair, for speaking on the public comment section for that. And we did have, I also will be able to send out to the committee the recording for that meeting so that you all will be able to see. So that you'll be able to see. Oh, I'm sorry. The recording. Actually, the recording is on the website. It's already on the website, the link to the recording. So you'll be able to see and to hear other comments that the public made for that statement.
I gave Todd a long email diatribe about, I swear to God, I'm a public speaker. I get paid to do this.
And the next item is the committee election.
Yeah, okay, so I need to wait for Alberto.
Is there, do we want to go with the Board of Supervisor update?
Yes,
Anything
let's
from
do that.
the
Thank you. Board of Supervisors update, please.
I didn't know if anyone had anything from your supervisor, if anyone.
So have the same update because I got the email twice asking if I know anybody, from my, Joel Anderson's office. I'm excited that,
Laura?
Phyllis, I don't think she's here anymore. Sorry, I'm using two eyeballs. Phyllis, if you're not here, if you check the recording at the end, we hope you, come participate. Anybody else, for the love of baby Jesus, please come on and, make this a more robust thing that helps us grow and learn and all those other things. We're gonna go to 10 new business, in the interest of committee election because we need Roberto here. With the Office of Emergency Services, future agenda.
They'll be presenting in the March meeting. And then we still need to open up for new nominations, for any nominations from the floor.
Yeah, but I almost want to wait for Umberto because then we're excluding him because if he
For
has,
nominations.
yes. So,
For new business, I'd also like to make sure we make note of evacuation protocol for this building.
Jessica, do you have any new business? We're getting close here.
We have a hard stop.
Jessica, can you hear us?
I mean, is Jessica still on?
Yep.
Okay.
Jessica's still there.
Is she muted?
Yes.
She does not have
Jessica,
her
you're
mic on
muted.
yet.
Unmute yourself.
You have the ability, Jaime, to send her that
There we
little
go.
button that people send to me that says, please unmute. It's a button that makes it super
yeah.
easy.
There's a button I see next to her name that says ask to unmute.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
try
have-
it.
I have clicked it.
Click the button. Don't click the three.
Oh gosh, that was hard. Hi.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
God, what am I missing?
Do you have any future business? New business, future agenda? Item number 10.
I'm sorry, I can't hear anything anyone just said.
That's
Yes.
okay. If you can, do you have any new business for agenda item number 10 for future agenda? We have skipped to that. Umberto, left the room for a minute and, we need him back to begin our committee elections. But since he's not here, I don't feel comfortable starting because, that would exclude him in the event he has a recommendation for somebody for the chair or for any of the positions.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So in the event of, I'm asking anybody have new business?
Would you like to see anything on the upcoming agendas? Jessica?
I think since we tabled the things, I don't think adding anything would be helpful. Thank
That's
you.
fair enough.
Well,
Okay,
didn't we say something, Carolyn, that we wanted to add something at new business that was brought up started under non-agenda public comment?
Oh, I've got something.
I know because I told you,
That's the
Yeah.
evacuation protocol.
evacuation, that was brought up.
Yeah, so we have that now and.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. go ahead,
Jessica, what
Jess.
did you think of?
Oh, yeah, so I remembered that we haven't completed the work with the district attorney. We're on like step 10 out of 10, where they assured us that they would have a modified blueprint for the San Diego Elder Independent Adult Abuse Blueprint. We weighed in on a new cover. They drafted a new cover for us. We gave feedback back on it, and we're told that they would have that cover implemented, but the cover hasn't been implemented. And for next agenda business, I would like for us to close that out and complete that item.
Outstanding. I mean, I think you got that. No, okay. Okay. I'm in a little bit of a slight quandary here. We are coming up to 5 o'clock. I don't want to rush, this next, set. What is the general consensus?
Let's just push through.
Oh,
I would say let's, table it the next month.
We are coming up on, what time is
We
it?
have like 3 minutes left, I would say, just, I know you have some place to be, just in respect of everybody's time.
Yeah, and I don't want to make Umberto feel
Yeah.
like he has, so so if everybody is okay with this, I don't want to leave Umberto out. But I really think we should adjourn and table our committee election. I know our bylaws say we have to do this now. Oh, wait,
I think it's annual. I don't think it's specific.
It says.
it specifically says it. Okay, so we're gonna push through real quick then, I lied. Okay, good. Okay, Roberto, yay, good timing. So we are gonna start with, secretary. Are there any, does anybody want to recommend anybody for secretary?
Don't we already have nominations?
have-
We have,
Last week.
so our nominations for secretary are Susan. Vice is Umberto and chair is myself. Does anybody want to make any additional recommendations? One time, second time. Does anybody want to make any additional recommendations? Second time, going third time. Anybody want to make any additional recommendations? Third time last, recommendations are closed. We're going to vote. So we're going to start at secretary.
You can actually do an act by acclamation.
Yeah, so by acclamation, Susan, congratulations, you have been, oh,
Well,
Don't
you
we
have
have
to
to
do the
vote?
vote.
oh, shit, I thought, okay, my bad.
But it's,
I thought
it's,
we're-
it's the slate.
Slate.
So you one vote for the slate.
You have to do, is there any objection?
The slate of officers.
So the slate of officers is going to be secretary, Susan, vice chair, Umberto, chair, Carolyn. By acclamation, I'm going to.
Call for a
ask
vote.
All those in
You have to
favor.
call for-
Well, I'm calling for a vote. Hold on, it's my first time. All those in favor by acclamation, this secretary, Susan, vice chair, Umberto.
Oh, I'm sorry, do a voice vote. I mean,
Yeah, we can do a voice
a name, what is it?
Roll
Roll
call.
Roll call.
Roll call
Yeah.
vote.
See,
Sorry.
we added something else. So chair for Susan, vice Umberto, chair Carolyn,
And it's yay or nay.
and it's yay or nay. So do I do each one?
Roberto.
You can do Jessica and.
Okay, so Umberto, secretary, Susan, yes or no?
You don't.
No, it's just the slate. It's the slate.
Okay. all-
Yay or nay.
all
Yeah.
three.
Yes or no?
Yay,
The whole slate.
yay, Jill, Sue,
Yay.
myself, yay, Jeanette,
Yay.
Michelle,
Yes.
Jessica,
Hey.
yay.
Yay.
Bye. All right, congratulations.
And it's only 4:59, and we have one more thing to actually do.
Oh, yes, yes, so this is congratulations, for, executive staff. This part is very important to all of us. At this time, oh, wait, oh, wait. Hold on. Um, here we go. Oh, God. Hold on, everybody, hold on. Hold on. Yeah, Todd sends me 700 emails. Jesus, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. So before I close this out, this is a very important thing that we have to, that is, Jeanette has served 2 terms as vice chair for the Committee of Persons with Disabilities. Jeanette has offered to serve and has volunteered in countless roles with the Committee for Persons with Disabilities to include representing the Committee for Persons with Disabilities by exhibiting at the Ethics and Awareness Fair and Live Well Advanced Conference and School Summit in 2024. She has drafted and coordinated the approval of the bylaws for the Committee for Persons with Disabilities. She's coordinated a visit and presentation on accessible community CPR training with Laura Lee of Falk. She is a reliable, dependable resource to get things done. She is When she says she will do it, she does it or finds a way to get it done. Jeanette is thoughtful and considerate in her interactions with other committee members and constituents from the public. She also volunteers at the San Diego Zoo. Jeanette was previously disability management counselor at UCSD. And to me, she has been an invaluable vice chair, somebody to lean on, somebody that I can whisper over to, and you are a wealth of knowledge, and we appreciate you on this board. So as chair, thank you for all of your dedication, all of your hard work, and this is a certificate of excellence. It says Certificate of Excellence. This certificate is awarded to Jeanette Shelton for your commitment, dedication, and contributions as Vice Chair of the County of Persons with Disabilities, dated today and signed by me. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything that you've done. Thank you. So thanks for that. And
surprise.
Yeah, we're secretive sometimes. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for your commitment, and your time. And, also, of course,
You can
You-
be on the call on Friday.
you are now, you have very large shoes to fill. So, and again, thank you so much, everybody, and we will adjourn this meeting.
Thanks.
All right.
I'm there to